The clock above the surgical ward froze at 3:14 a.m. The hallway outside was silent except for the echo of rushed footsteps. Billionaire CEO Adrian Cole stood rigid by the glass doors, his knuckles white against the railing. His wife, Elena, 8 months pregnant, lay inside fighting for her life. Machines beeped in uneven rhythms. Doctors whispered behind masks. Adrian's world, built on power and control, was crumbling in front of him. Money had solved everything until tonight. "She's slipping," the head surgeon muttered. "Internal bleeding." "We've tried everything." Adrian's throat tightened. "You said you could save her." The man didn't meet his eyes. "We called every specialist." "Nothing's working." Adrian turned toward the waiting room window. Snow drifted across the dark city skyline. Every empire he'd built felt meaningless if Elena didn't walk out alive. Through the glass, a cleaner mopped quietly at the far end of the hall. She was small, in a faded uniform, her hair tied back under a cap. She paused, watching the frantic activity. Her name badge read Maeve Carter. She stepped closer, hesitant. "Sir, may I speak?" Adrian barely looked at her. "Not now." Maeve's voice didn't shake. "I know what's happening in there. I can help." A bitter laugh escaped him. 100 doctors can't, and you're a cleaner." She held his gaze. "Doctors follow rules. I don't. Give me one chance." The door swung open. A nurse's panicked cry cut through the air. "She's fading, both mother and child." Adrian's chest constricted. Elena's weak heartbeat thudded on the monitor. The baby's rhythm slowed. Maeve dropped her mop. From her pocket, she pulled a small silver needle. It gleamed under the fluorescent light. 3 seconds, she said quietly. "That's all I need." Adrian stared, torn between despair and disbelief. "If you hurt her, I won't," Maeve said. "But if you hesitate, you'll lose them." The alarms inside screamed louder. Adrian's world narrowed to 2 choices: trust a stranger or watch everything slip away. He stepped aside. "Do it!" Maeve pushed past the stunned doctors. She pressed her fingers against Elena's abdomen, searching. Then, with a single precise motion, she placed the needle. 1 breath, 2, 3, the monitor spiked. Elena's heartbeat strengthened. The baby's rhythm steadied. Gasps filled the room. Adrian's knees buckled. Relief hit like a wave, but confusion burned deeper. Maeve withdrew the needle, her expression unreadable. She whispered, "She's safe. For now." And before anyone could speak, she turned to leave. Adrian's voice was low, almost broken. "Who are you?" Maeve paused at the door. The fluorescent light caught her eyes, bright, haunted. "Knowing, I'm someone who doesn't believe in impossible," she said, and walked out into the snow-filled night. Adrian stood frozen, heart pounding, the weight of the moment crushing him. Outside, the wind howled through the hospital courtyard, and somewhere in the darkness, secrets waited to be uncovered. Snowflakes swirled under the hospital lights as Maeve Carter stepped into the freezing night. Her breath fogged in the air, her hands trembling, not from the cold, but from memories she thought she had buried. Adrian Cole pushed through the doors, his expensive coat whipping in the wind. He caught up to her on the icy pavement. "Stop!" he said, voice low but sharp. "You don't get to walk away after what you just did." Maeve didn't turn. "Your wife and baby are alive. That's what matters." "That's not enough." Adrian's shoes crunched on the snow as he moved closer. "You touched her for 3 seconds and did what 100 doctors couldn't. Who are you?" She faced him finally, her eyes hard yet fragile. "A woman who learned the cost of silence," Adrian frowned. "Silence about what?" Maeve hesitated. The hospital lights flickered behind them. "I was a paramedic once. I studied a form of field acupuncture for trauma care. But a mistake I didn't make cost someone powerful their son. They ruined my license, my name. Cleaning floors is all they left me." Adrian searched her face. He was used to lies, used to people spinning stories to get close to him. But something in her voice, a raw, weary honesty, cut through his doubt. Inside the hospital, Faint cheers and cries of relief echoed through the windows. Elena was stable. Adrian's chest tightened again, but this time with gratitude. "You saved my family," he said quietly. "You didn't even hesitate," Maeve shook her head. "I hesitated for a lifetime before tonight. I won't again." She started to leave, but Adrian stepped in front of her. "You can't disappear. There's more to this." Maeve's gaze flickered to the distant city skyline, then back to him. "You don't want my world mixing with yours. Powerful men already destroyed my life once." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I'm not them." A siren wailed far away, echoing across the snowy streets. The moment hung heavy between them. Finally, Maeve said, "Go back to your wife. Hold her while you can. But remember this, Adrian, sometimes the people you overlook hold the power to change everything." She stepped into the shadows, leaving him staring after her, the cold biting his face, his mind racing with questions he couldn't yet answer. Adrian stood in the hospital parking lot, snow crunching beneath his shoes, the echo of Maeve's words gnawing at him. Inside, Elena and their unborn child were alive because of a woman the world had cast aside. He returned to Elena's room. The monitors hummed steadily now, the chaos replaced by a fragile calm. Elena's skin was pale, but her eyes fluttered open when she felt his hand. "You're safe," Adrian whispered, voice breaking. She smiled weakly. "Our baby?" "They're both strong," he said. But the relief in his chest warred with curiosity. He couldn't shake Maeve's haunted eyes or the precision of her touch. Hours passed. Doctors reviewed charts searching for a logical explanation for the miracle. Adrian slipped out quietly. The CEO who could command empires suddenly felt powerless without answers. He asked the night supervisor about Maeve. The woman flipped through the roster. Maeve Carter. Works night shifts. Pays no attention to anyone. Lives somewhere near Harbor Street. Barely speaks. Adrian left the hospital before dawn. Snow still fell, painting the city in silence. He drove to Harbor Street, the tires of his black sedan crunching through the drifts. The address led him to a crumbling brick building. The hallway smelled of damp plaster and old paint. Maeve's door was barely holding on its hinges. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. The door opened a fraction. Maeve stood there, her uniform still on, her hair undone. "You shouldn't be here," she said flatly. Adrian stepped inside. The room was small, lit by a single lamp. A stack of medical textbooks sat on a rickety table. A faded photo of a younger Maeve in paramedic gear rested beside it. "You saved my wife," Adrian said. "You can't just vanish." Maeve crossed her arms. "You're a CEO. You live in a world where everything has a price. Saving your family wasn't a transaction." Adrian's gaze softened. "This isn't about money. It's about truth. Why would anyone destroy your career?" Her eyes glistened. "Because I saved the wrong person once. A boy from the streets instead of the governor's son. They needed a scapegoat. I was easy to erase." Silence stretched. The weight of her story pressed against the walls. Finally, Adrian said, "Then let me help you." Maeve's voice cracked. "Help brings trouble." Outside, a car engine idled too long. A shadow shifted near the window. Maeve's expression darkened. "They found me," she whispered, "and now they'll come for you too." The sound of tires on wet snow grew louder outside Maeve's window. A pair of headlights swept across the peeling wallpaper. Adrian felt the weight of her warning press down on him. He moved closer to the window, scanning the street below. A black sedan idled near the corner. Its engine rumbled low, too deliberate to be random. Maeve grabbed a worn backpack from under her bed. "They don't leave loose ends," she said quietly. "When you questioned their power tonight, you made yourself a target." Adrian's voice was steady but low. "I don't run." She zipped the bag and looked him straight in the eyes. "You don't understand. They ruined my life over saving one boy. You're a billionaire who just watched a cleaner undo 100 doctors. They'll see you as a threat, a witness, and an opportunity." Adrian's phone buzzed. A text flashed on the screen. "Leave her. Walk away. No name. No number." His jaw tightened. He slipped the phone into his pocket. I'm not leaving you. Maeve's face softened for a brief moment, then hardened again. Then help me get the proof. She opened a small box on her table. Inside were old ID cards, copies of reports, and a flash drive. Everything they buried is here. If you expose this, they can't touch either of us. Footsteps echoed on the stairwell outside. Adrian turned off the lamp. Darkness swallowed the room. The doorknob rattled once, then fell silent. Maeve held her breath. The footsteps retreated, replaced by the distant hum of the city. She exhaled slowly. That was a warning. Adrian stepped close. We take the proof to someone who can't be bought. Journalists, international media. Maeve nodded, though her eyes flickered with doubt. They'll still try to silence us. Adrian reached for her hand. Then we make sure the world hears before they can move. Hours later, as dawn broke, they stood outside a news agency downtown. Adrian handed over the flash drive. Maeve watched as the receptionist disappeared inside with the evidence. The city stirred awake. Sunlight broke through thinning clouds, glinting off the snow-covered streets. Adrian turned to Maeve. You saved my wife, my child, and maybe more than that tonight. Maeve looked toward the horizon, her voice almost a whisper. I only gave the truth a chance to breathe. Behind them, a black sedan slid into traffic and vanished. The danger wasn't gone, but for the first time in years, Maeve felt the weight of her past begin to lift. Adrian's phone buzzed again. A single new message appeared. This isn't over. He looked at Maeve. She met his gaze without fear. Together, they stepped forward into the waking city, their fates now bound by a secret that powerful men could no longer fully control.